Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? It is a fine Tuesday morning, April the 8th, 2025. Right now, it is currently sunny, but brutally cold here across mid-Michigan. I am a little, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of over the, over the winter. I'm a guy who likes to work out in the yard quite a bit, and boy, this weather is just putting a damper on my yard production, and I feel like I'm way behind on the yard work that I got ahead of me. I still want to dethatch, pull cores, overseed, and level out some spots here. And boy, when it keeps dipping down into the low 30s at night, don't want to stress those crowns out on the grass too much. Taking over at the chat. Hey, good morning, Mr. Detroit City. Good morning, everybody else out there. Let's go Lions, Mr. Detroit City. Hopefully you're having a nice day down there in sunny Florida. Hey, guys, we cleaned up the image a little bit here. Got a little bit more of myself in the picture and a little bit more streamlined on the backdrop. Hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully your guys' day is starting off well. I know mine is so far. I'm here with you and you're here with me. You guys, it is the Hat and Beard Show. I am your hostess with the mostest, Hat and Beard. And today we've got it's the off season. Let's go ahead and load our Zin. We got our Zin loaded in, and we got our coffee all set and ready to go, ready to be drank upon. It's slow news. Not a lot going on in the NFL. We're leading into the NFL draft. We talk about it all the time. Today we got a national story talking about the Cleveland Browns draft strategy, because the draft is now, less than 20 days away. We're a couple weeks out. Morning, fellas. Morning, Cody Till. How you doing this morning, my good man? Hopefully you're chilling like a villain, dude. So far, we're just getting rolling, dude. We're just getting rolling into things, getting things going. Forgot what I was talking about. Everything's all draft related now, unless you're an Aaron Rodgers news waiting kind of guy, which I'm not really going to break the news on Aaron Rodgers. There's nothing but draft, and more drafts. So we're going to be walking on over and looking at a lead story here. Analyst blast Cleveland Browns for the Cleveland Browns, not the Cleveland Clowns, for NFL draft strategy. Though they do make some very clown maneuvers. I don't know if you guys have seen, but Deshaun Watson is back in the news a little bit, and the sooner that we as NFL fandoms and the NFL as a business stop trying to push Deshaun Watson, the sooner we can just let it go. Let it go. Deshaun Watson loves him some hoes. Let it go. So we'll be talking about the Browns, and then also Tim 20man has a nice article written up, breaking down some edge prospects that the Lions can target, because we all know how super high we all are on going edge in the first pick. Let's not say the first pick, as Brad Holmes is known to move about the draft board, and I'm here for it. And then because yesterday I kept noticing certain prospect, mid-round talent out of the University of Michigan kept popping on interviews, combine interviews, digital interviews, in-person interviews, local interviews, and that is Michigan defensive end prospect Josaiah Stewart. And if we're gonna follow breadcrumbs, let's follow some breadcrumbs, right? And all these indicators, all these meetings that we've had with Josaiah Stewart, he's been linked to the Lions for a while now. Obviously, there is the Michigan connection. There's also the connection to Aiden Hutchinson. So we're at the end here. We're going to go ahead and look at some Josaiah Stewart scouting reports just to see what we could be potentially getting. I've seen him go as early as the late second round, or as early as the late second round, and as late as the sixth round in some mock drafts. So somebody that I think I'm going to start to sharpen my pencil on a little bit, and maybe think that, we've talked about it a lot. Brad Holmes likes to double up on his draft picks, likes to go 1 for 1 on the same position group early and then mid rounds. So it's something we could consider if he does decide to go edge in the first round. That would start to signal to me anyway that we're looking at maybe doubling up fourth round, late third round. Remember, we do have that third round pick that we got from Aaron Glenn being hired as the New York Jets head coach. So we have the 32nd pick in the 3rd round. And that could be very handy for a guy like Josaiah Stewart, projected as a 4th-round pick, if we can go ahead and steal him earlier than projected. Trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, well, all right, so let's just get to the call to action. Guys, if you're not already, go ahead and do me a solid. Why don't you walk on over to the subscribe button, poke that if you're feeling froggy, ring that notification bell so that you never miss out on any future content, and you can be notified and join the Hat and Beard Show live Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can hang out with guys like Cody, Till, Mr. Detroit City, Jeanette Hall pops in sometimes. I'm Chasing Chase shows up pretty regularly. There's a good group of us here. Beantown Breakdown giving us the New England Patriots side of everything. There's a good group of people here, and if you feel like hanging out and joining the conversation live some days, we try and incorporate the chat as much as we can without bogging down the story too much, and we're happy to have you here. While you're down and rooting around in the bathtub under the video, go ahead and drop a comment if you're watching this after the live show. Let me know what you guys think, if there's anything you'd like to see, talk about, or expand upon. And then finally, the most important thing that you can honestly do for the channel is just click that share button. Over 80% of you guys watch this on mobile, so I'm gonna walk you through it here. Just go down into the bathtub under the video and click share. Then you don't have to share it to anything. Trust me, I totally get it. I wouldn't want to be affiliated with me either. Go ahead and just copy that link to your clipboard. Counts as a share, and the algorithm can't tell the difference between you sharing it on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook to all your friends or whatever it is that you do. Between that and just copying it to your clipboard, that really is the most beneficial thing you can do for the channel to help us grow, is to share this around. All right. Well, let's without any further ado, let's get into it, fellas.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
All right, so we are going to walk on over here to SportsIllustrated.com. Matthew Schmidt, or Matthew Schmidt, but I always call it Schmidt. This was posted an hour ago. Analyst blast Cleveland Browns for NFL draft strategy. Going to try and stir up a little drama over here, get us some clicky clicks on the drama. Farming the slop, if you will, fellas. An analyst has ripped the Cleveland Browns for their reported strategy heading into the NFL draft. Pause this. Don't need that bogging us down. The Cleveland Clowns are in desperate need for a quarterback, perhaps more than any other team in the NFL. Would you think that they would make the things easy on themselves? Simply select Shedeur Sanders with the number 2 pick in the NFL draft, right? Boy, I struggled through that one. Is Shedeur Sanders worth a number 2 pick? I don't think so. Well, apparently it's more complicated than that, as the Browns seem to be strongly considering passing on Sanders to select either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. Probably a better long-term selection there between the three. I would go with either of those two. And Shedeur Sanders, I wouldn't. Is it wrong that I don't like Shedeur Sanders? I've expressed it before. I don't think he's all that in a bag of potato chips. I think he's just the chips without all of that. Yes, he has the name and the DNA and all of the X, Y's, and Z's that should add up, but I don't see it. I don't understand. But maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. Probably not. Well, ESPN's Tony Rizzo thinks that the Cleveland Browns would be remiss not to take a quarterback, as that is exactly what the Browns need. Drafting from a position of need is a terrible, terrible spot to be in. We've been down this road as Lions fans more times than we care to admit. The majority of my life, we've been drafting from a position of need, not a position of leverage, a position of strength. Drafting to your strengths, adding a guy in the first round. I love to use the Lions last year as a prime example. We went out and we spent money on Amik Robertson. We traded for Carlton Davis, right? We beefed up our secondary because our secondary is what crippled us in the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers, i.e. Kindle Vildor, right? And so because things shook out the way that they did, boy howdy, Terrion Arnold was sitting right there for us. We had to jump up to get him. But we got Terrion Arnold, right? Jumped right up in front of Green Bay to snatch Terrion Arnold away from the jaws of defeat and going to the Cheesehead City. And what we were able to do with Terrion Arnold was the exact opposite of what we were able to do with Jeff Okudah, who, by the way, just signed in Minnesota, right? Excuse me. Now, when the Lions drafted Jeff Okudah, number 3 overall, it was a position of need, right? And a corner going that high is just egregious, right? It's not someplace you have to be him. You have to be him for 4 straight years in collegiate ball to go that high as a corner, right? In my opinion, if you're going to go number 3 overall in the NFL draft, most teams that are taking you at that spot are not good, and you have got to be him from the moment you set foot in the facility, right? And Jeff Okudah was never him, right? He never was him. He never was able to hit that ceiling that some people thought he had, and most people kind of realized that his floor was his ceiling, and the floor that we thought he had, well, Jeff Okudah was good at crawling down into the basement. Jeff Okudah was not given the opportunity to develop, grow, and expand slowly, integrate himself to the speed of the NFL. He was thrust into the number 1 role because as a number 3 pick at corner, you got to be him, right? You got to be him right from the jump, and he wasn't him. Now, Terrion Arnold on the flip side, 28 overall. No, not 28 overall, like mid-20s. And he was drafted in the first round. One of the top corners on the board, arguably 1 or 2. It depends on how you look at it. Quinion Mitchell ended up having a more flashy rookie season, obviously winning the Super Bowl with Philadelphia. Terrion Arnold was one of the more heavily flagged players in the NFL, especially before the bye week. But it speaks a lot about Terrion Arnold and his ability to develop mid-season. And after the bye week, Terrion Arnold was flagged very little and still maintained his stickiness at corner. I have a huge ceiling this year for Terrion Arnold. I'm expecting very good things out of Terrion Arnold. I think he's very much developing the way that he should. But Terrion Arnold was drafted as a first-round pick, one of the top 2 corners in the draft class, from a big school, Alabama, where he was him. And he was immediately brought into the Lions organization where he was competing, not for a starting role, but for a second or third spot, right? Because there was the veterans in front of him. And he obviously wasn't able to ascend Carlton Davis until Carlton Davis broke his jaw. And even then, Terrion Arnold didn't match up on guys like Justin Jefferson. That was Amik Robertson's job, right? Because he was still a young guy. My point being is that Terrion Arnold was allowed to come into the league and develop at a rate in which was comfortable to him. Was that faster than, say, Enos Rakestraw, who was limited by injuries, even though he was poised to start the Tampa game? I'm sorry, week 3. I think it was week 3. Yeah, he was a little bit faster than Enos Rakestraw Jr., but can those two guys develop along swimmingly? Sure, why not? But my whole point with Terrion Arnold is that he wasn't thrust into a position because the Lions weren't drafting from a position of need. The Browns, because the Cleveland Clowns cannot get out of their own goddamn way, felt the need to, obviously, that Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Cosby just crippled them for a long time. And they've been in, they're the Cleveland Clowns, so it's hard to get guys to come there. They do have Kevin Stefanski, who was a one-time coach of the year, and he runs a pretty good offense. They got a solid defense there, but they're still the Cleveland Clowns, right? And what we're seeing here is that Tony Rizzo thinks that the Cleveland Clowns need to draft from a position of need, right? Not taking a position of want, where Abdul Carter would be the smart pick. Travis Hunter would be the flashy pick. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, whomever is there at 2, would be the need pick. That would be your last option. That is in case of fire, break glass, right? If you're the Cleveland Browns, what you're really looking for is you're looking for Tennessee to take Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, so that selection is easier for you if you are drafting from a position of need. Or, obviously, Abdul Carter, the Tennessee Titans make the smart choice, and they take Abdul Carter number 1 overall instead of one of the 2 quarterbacks. And then the Browns, although they are in a position of need, realizing that there are still, in the later first round, early second round, still guys that are there that can be taken. I'm looking at you, Jalen Milroe, right? The Brownies either look to trade out of number 2. Somebody gets real high on the quarterbacks. Oakland all of a sudden is like, oh, wow, those two guys are both there after Abdul Carter goes number 1 overall. Oakland's clamoring to go up from 6-2, in which case Cleveland then can make the smart choice and trade away the second-round pick, move back 5, 6. Well, if it was Vegas, it'd be 4 spots, and obviously try and get future picks in this draft class or a future first in next year's draft. So in this rebuild, you're then loading yourself up like the Lions did, right? But Tony Rizzo, thinks that the Brownies need to draft from a position of need. Quote, this line about they like Shedeur, but they don't like him enough to take him at 2. As a Browns fan, I need a quarterback. I can't go anywhere until I get the quarterback, Rizzo said. You could have the best receiver of all time. If you have nobody to throw the football, what good is it? You're in denial. You need a quarterback. Rizzo makes a very good point. Cleveland went just 3-14 this past season, and while the Browns have had massive issues up and down the roster, their most glaring problem was obviously under center. Would Sanders instantly solve all of Cleveland's problems? No, he just proves his own point is stupid. But he at least has the potential to fix troubles at the signal caller, and that is the most important step toward bidding. No, that is not the most important step towards building a winner, because of this word right here. 2 words: the potential. I don't need potential. I need results. Right? Let's be honest. In professional sports, specifically the NFL, because that is what I know, the best deodorant is winning. Right? Now, the Browns they probably didn't have the money to go after the forehead Sam Darnold. There's not a lot of quarterback maneuverability for them. They could look to trade for a guy. I'm looking at Hendon Hooker. But the Brownies are in a spot where, because of salary cap issues, they do need to get a rookie scale quarterback. Do they go first round? I wouldn't, but I play a lot of Madden. Hunter and Carter may be the best 2 players available when the Browns are on the clock, but they must get a quarterback if they want to turn around their franchise. And there is quarterbacks later on in the draft. There is Jackson Dart. There is. Can I just be real with y'all guys? You know what? Maybe later in the week we'll watch this video. There's this guy that I like to watch on YouTube. His channel's name is Tub Frog, TUBFROG, Tub Frog. Go check him out. He had a real good video, and I can't unsee it. Now that he pointed it out, I cannot unsee it. Oh, man. And I'm so high on this guy now that I'm actually advocating for the Lions to consider taking him, similar to a Hendon Hooker if he's available, because I don't think Hendon Hooker's working out. I think Hendon Hooker will look very good in a Michigan Panthers uniform next year. Jalen Milroe has the highest ceiling of all the quarterbacks in the draft, simply because the comparisons, the athleticism. I hate to draw comparisons to Lamar Jackson and Mike Vick, but he checks all those boxes, right? The guy is a freak athlete with just a machine for a work ethic. The dude just goes to work and he gets results, right? And I think Jalen Milroe, if the Browns feel like getting cutesy with it, the Browns sit where they're at, and in the second round, they take Jalen Milroe. Obviously, you're gambling, and you're going to have to sit there and twiddle your thumbs for 33 more picks after you. Well, yeah, 33, yeah. Right? Is my math right? Doesn't matter. Irrelevant. I think the Browns should do the smart thing. Let me know down in the comments section below. If you're a Browns fan, what do you want to see? Do you want to see Abdul Carter lined up opposite Myles Garrett, in which case you're that team, you know, you're modeling, you're structuring your team more on the San Francisco 49ers style, where you're going to win with defense, and allow your offense to develop during the season? Or do you want to try and address offense right now, knowing that you have a relatively good defense? Cleveland if you're smart, draft to your strengths. Don't draft from a position of need. Take it from a Lions fan. And you guys have been there for a long time. You guys understand this. You guys understand the drafting from position of need. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is him. I really don't think Shedeur Sanders is him. I'm just not sold on him, especially at the number 2 spot. So let me know what you guys think down below. All right, let's walk on over to DetroitLions.com. Our good friend Tim 20 Man, the senior writer, this coming out April 8th at 7 a.m. That was today, a couple hours ago. And 2025 NFL Draft Preview. 5 edge rushers that could interest the Lions. Now, we've talked about edge rushers and edge rushers and edge rushers. We've been talking about getting another edge rusher since before the Hutch injury, right? Some of us thought, myself being one of them, that Marcus Davenport was going to be the answer to that, and obviously injury last year, couldn't control that. Not his fault, though it has been an issue with him his entire career. Zadarius Smith was released to clear some salary cap space for the Lions to make some maneuverability. And Zadarius Smith still has yet to be signed, last I've seen, by any organization. And from every article I've been able to find, Zadarius Smith is still in contact with the Detroit Lions. Brad Holmes has been pretty firm, though, on his hard line on the cap. He's not going to budge too much on money. And Zadarius Smith, I mean, not so much productive. And if you look at the actual metrics of it, he played more on pass. He's more of just now a pass rush specialist. He wasn't really on the field that much for the what are considered early downs, rush downs. That was more of Josh Pascal's job. Do I think Zadarius Smith would have had a more productive season had Aiden Hutchinson not been injured? 150%. Do I think Zadarius Smith would have been a Lion had Aiden Hutchinson not been injured? 150%. So we've been talking about getting a running mate for Aiden Hutchinson for a while. James Houston, his rookie year, we kind of thought was going to be the answer, and he obviously can't figure it out. Part of that is scheme. We tried to put him in a spot where he couldn't succeed, an unnatural position for him. The Hutch injury really crippled us, and Josh Pascal has been more of a good run defender, not so much of a pass rush specialist. So we've been really clamoring for another guy to help collapse the pocket from the edge spot. Obviously, Aleem McNeil does present that ability, but Aleem McNeil is looking like he's going to miss all training camp and even part of the early start of the season, so we can't really rely on that. So edge. We've been mocking edges. We've been talking edges. We've been edging our way towards an edge this entire offseason. And Tim 20 Man has a nice little article breaking all down 5 edge rushers that the Lions can look at. And these are first-round guys, right? These are first-round guys. We do know that Brad Holmes is super good at finding guys later on in the draft. So don't be surprised. I keep telling everybody that'll listen, I cannot wait for draft night, Thursday night, first round, right? I'm taking that Friday and Saturday, or Thursday and Friday off on vacation. I got that Sunday and Saturday and Sunday off, so I got a little 4-day weekend for the draft. And Thursday night for the draft will be the first time that I will drink in 90 days, right? And that'll be the 90-day mark, and I'm going to have a little drink during the first round. And I can't wait to sit around all night long to the 28th spot just to have the Detroit Lions trade out of the first round. I'm so excited to sit around all night and wait for the Lions just to trade out of the first round. Because there's just a lot of talent at edge, and if you can hop out of the first round, I'm a huge advocate for trading out for future assets, right? So let's just get into this. Tim 20 Man, senior writer for the Detroit Lions, big fan of all the work, been reading him for a long time. Well, before we get into it, let's walk on over to the chat. Dang, didn't get the notification. Oh, no shit, didn't get the notification. I'm chasing Chase. Well, double check that the bells rang, and honestly, I'm not surprised. I'm a small-time channel, not really that big on notifications, but yeah, dude, we try and do Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11. I know you're at work and stuff, so don't feel obligated, my dude, but I do appreciate you coming in and hanging out and fucking chatting it up and stuff, bro. You help the conversation move it along, so if I'm chasing Chase, I just double-check that bells rang. Man, that's kind of irritating. So we're going to dive into this article from Tim 20 Man. When it comes to getting after the quarterback in 2025, the Detroit Lions will welcome back one of the best in the business in Aiden Hutchinson. Oh, also, Aiden Hutchinson, I don't know if you guys seen it. Oh, there is this awesome video of him at the facility doing full like 100-yard sprints, just booking. He's running, he's sprinting, I'm telling you guys, I'm fucking telling you guys. You thought Aiden Hutchinson was a man possessed last year? Dude, the NFC North better stock up on all the offensive linemen because Aiden Hutchinson's going to eat all of them alive on the field. And I can't wait for that matchup against the Bears when Hutch is unleashed upon Caleb Williams. I can't wait for that. Sorry, my bad. I really don't like the Bears anymore, guys. I never liked the Bears really to begin with. Truth be told, there's a few Bears players that I've liked over the years, right? Obviously, there's all the greats, but in my lifetime, can't help myself, huge Brian Urlacher fan. Brian Urlacher, I've drawn comparisons. He's the guy. There are two linebackers. Well, there's three depending on the size, but if you're a smaller linebacker, I like to compare him to Zach Thomas. And then if you're a big-time Mike backer, hit all the metrics, size, height, speed. For me, you get two comparisons. You either get the great one, Ray Lewis, or him, Brian Urlacher. And Jack Campbell, I draw a lot of comparisons to Brian Urlacher. I'm expecting Jack Campbell to be Brian Urlacher-esque for the Detroit Lions. Got a little sidetracked there. I also liked Cedric Benson, and I was a big Matt Forte fan, mostly because I had him in fantasy for a couple of years, and he was a hell of a productive running back. And then, to be honest, I have actually been a big David Montgomery fan since he came out of college, watching his tape in his draft class and then watching him perform. David Montgomery, I was so happy when we were able to sign him, and he's been everything that I expected him to be here in Detroit. And I'm sure that playing the Bears twice a year, the Bears get a little salty seeing how productive he is on the other side of Lake Michigan. Aiden Hutchinson played just 5.5 games last season before breaking his leg in Week 6 in Dallas and missing the rest of the season. God, that was horrific. I hate it. Oh, dude, when that whole series of events unfolding went from euphoria because the play got blown up to when I seen Hutch bite his gloves and pull his glove off, I was like, oh my God. And then Hat and Boobs was like, look at his leg. I was like, I will never forgive the football gods for what they did to Aiden Hutchinson's leg during what should have been our Super Bowl year, where we should have been the ones to slay the evil empire from Kansas City. The Lions just continue. That should have been the Lions' year. We should have gone to the Super Bowl. We should have beat the Chiefs just to bookend that we are that team that consistently will just shit right in Kansas City's hat, like we did opening day 2 years ago when they unveiled their Super Bowl banner, like we did, or like we should have done this year in the Super Bowl. It should have just been Lions are the Giants, the Eli Manning and the Giants to the Patrick Mahomes New England Patriots style dynasty. That would have just been great. Hutchinson had 7.5 sacks, 17 quarterback hits, and 45 total pressures in those games. And what's crazy is that for weeks on end after Hutch broke his leg, he was still leading the NFL in those metrics. Quote, look, we don't have a crystal ball or anything. We're just going to see where it's at. But I've seen enough mobility on running in this stage that I feel very confident about where he's going to be at. Lions general manager Brad Holmes said of Hutchinson's rehab progress at last week's annual league meetings. The Lions liked what they saw in the edge duo of Hutchinson and veteran Marcus Davenport before an arm injury ended Davenport's season last year after just week 3. Davenport and the team re-upped on a 1-year deal this offseason, and if the two can stay healthy, the Lions look like they are starting a tandem on the edge of their defensive line. But general managers and coaches say all the time, teams can never have too many pass rushers. And that's the case in Detroit, especially when looking at Davenport's injury history and the Lions' depth. Detroit was among the league leaders in quarterback hurries last season, but their 37 sacks ranked 23rd. 37 sacks, and Hutch had 7.5 of them in 6 weeks. Sacks are drive-wrecking plays, and the Lions need more of them. Detroit forced 32 3-and-outs last season. That was the 7th fewest in the NFL, and we got kind of taken advantage of. And as I've said numerous times, having a disruptive force at the edge covers up so many deficiencies on your defense, especially on pass downs. It makes your corners look a lot better. Our defense was a lot more aggressive with one man than we were with blitzing 2-3 extra guys, right? Having that edge player, man, oh man, one of the most important positions in the NFL. Walking over to the chat real quick here, Mr. Detroit City, edge to the D. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going to edge right up to the D, and we need defensive end help. The Lions returned veteran. It sounds crazy to call Josh Paschal a veteran now. Lions returned veteran Josh Paschal on the last year of his rookie contract, and also re-signed veteran Levi Onwuzurike this offseason. While both have played on the edge of Detroit's defense in the past and are certainly capable, they're more productive inside. Holmes said that the preferred spot is having both of them in the interior defensive line rotation. Yes, Josh Paschal, I've been saying for a while, needed to be moved interior off defensive line, being so you could either play him as a heavy edge or you could play him as a light DT, taking advantage of his ability and mobility on the interior offensive line and a little bit more quickness than most defensive tackles. This might be the deepest defensive line class, both on the edge and interior, in the past decade. I've been saying that for a while. It's a deep class, which is great for teams who could be looking to add depth and talent there. Detroit certainly will have options if they decide to add to the defensive front when they're on the clock at 28, or with any of their other 7 draft selections. We're 28, 60, 102, 130, 196, 228, and 244. Let's get down here into the edge positions. The edge class draft strength, talent, and depth. The class is absolutely loaded. NFL media analyst Daniel Jeremiah's most recent list of the top 50 players in the class includes 9 edge rushers and 5 defensive tackles. That's 14 out of 50 guys are on the defensive line, according to some analysts' top 50. That is a deep, deep, deep class. That's nearly 30% of his top 50 being defensive linemen, including the number 1 overall prospect, Abdul Carter, an edge rusher out of Penn State. I've been telling you, Abdul Carter is the top guy in the draft, and those top 2 teams, the Titans and the Browns, are going to be fucking fools if they pass on Abdul Carter. The depth that we have, this is our depth chart currently. Okay, this is right now, fresh off the presses this morning. Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Al-Qadin Muhammad, Mitchell Agude, Isaac Nuuku, Nate Lynn, Onwuzurike, and Paschal. Gonna head over to the chat real quick. Nothing beats making Lowe's runs listening to the Hat and Beard Show on a Tuesday morning. My guy, Mr. Detroit City. Hell yeah, brother. You go to Lowe's, you get some good stuff, man. Hopefully it's nothing critical. Hopefully you're going on a little bit of a luxury spending spree down there. You're gonna find some good tools, some good expenditure. If you're a guy like me, might I let me just ask this real quick. This is a off-topic conversation. Kind of a power tools guy are you? What brand are you guys? I was just talking to Hat and Boobs about this the other day, and there are 2 brands that I am keen on. One brand that I like to buy, one brand that I'll use, and then depending on tool specifics, there's another brand that I'll tolerate. And looking for a wife here. He's looking for a wife at Lowe's at 10:30 in the morning. You know what, bud? Some might say you don't need to do the looking. They might be looking for you out there. So I'm going to be real. Cody Till, it depends on the job, TBH, 150%. Depends on the job. Depends on who's buying the tools. But if I'm buying the tools, I'm a Milwaukee guy. Hey, what can I say? Is that a big surprise to you guys? I do a lot of electrical work. Is that a shocker that a guy who does a lot of electrical work prefers Milwaukee? I'm a Milwaukee guy. I'll tolerate DeWalt. I'm chasing Chase. No lie, my girlfriend is the man in our relationship. Hey, you know what, dude? At least you're man enough to admit it, bro. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, dude. Look, man, if she's handy and can figure it out, nothing wrong with that. Cody Till, same on the Milwaukee. Yeah, dude, Milwaukee's the way to go. I'll tolerate DeWalt. And then, so my career field, obviously, I do a lot of different stuff, being in a very blanket term of just generalized maintenance. My specialties fall in electrical work, and then actually for a long time there, boys, I was just a one-trick pony. I mean, it was a hell of a trick I could do. It was a hell of a trick, but when you're just a welder, it doesn't really cut it. You got to be a welder and should have gone into pipe fitting, should have finished my electrical apprenticeship. But if I'm doing metal work, I will tolerate Metabo for cutoff wheels and grinders. Other than that, I'm not a Ryobi guy. God, what's the orange brand? And it's not Black & Decker. It's something else that we use at work that are just fucking trash. When I see that lime green Ryobi, I'm just like, oh, come on, man. Come on. I don't need no Ryobis, none of that stuff. I'm a Milwaukee or DeWalt kind of guy. So that's what we run around here, like the red with Milwaukee. And here's the thing. Check it out. It's just out of reach. I'm chasing Chase. Says, my girlfriend is doing a trades program right now and thinking either electrical or welding. Cody Till says, material hammer drills are the worst tool ever. Yep. Oh, Makita. Yes, Makita hammer drill. Yeah, I don't fuck around with Makita, dude. Makita, not a Makita guy. I don't trust Makita. I trust Makitas as much as I trust Ryobis. And to be fair, though, I became pretty biased with Milwaukee. When I was doing the majority of my apprenticeship, we used mostly Milwaukee or DeWalt. And then 10 or so years ago, I got myself Milwaukee Impact and drill set, and I haven't had to buy new batteries, haven't had to do any maintenance on them, haven't had to do nothing. They work just great. The batteries are still fresh. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I'm looking at my Impact right now. I did have to put some Loctite on the screws that hold the belt clip on the battery. I had to put a little bit of Loctite on the screws to hold them in. But other than that, they've been holding up well. Sorry, we went off on a little bit of a diatribe there, a little out in the weeds, talking about tools and stuff. But I'm chasing Chase, talking about his girlfriend doing a trades program right now. What's she doing the program through, dude? Electrical or welding? Is she doing it through community college, or is she hooked up with like an apprenticeship program, working with a contractor? What type of deal there? Personally, go electrical. Okay, welding. Like, welding's fun. I love doing welding, and ideally, one day I'd like to have enough room that I can have a small little shop where I can fab. I love fabbing out like trailers and shit, and I just want to make trailers on the side. I want to fab out trailers on the side and sell them at the end of my driveway. But the thing with welding is everybody thinks that they can do it. Okay, people are terrified of electrical, right? Everybody thinks that they can weld until they get under the hood. And unless you really are comfortable with eating a bunch of smoke, being in the grime and the grit, crawling, because I've done field work and I've done shop work. Let's see real quick at the chat. It's through LCC, but she's got into the women's in skilled trades program. Okay, right on. I mean, good on her. I've done a lot. I mean, I've been welding for 20 years at this point. And, it's a good skill to have, but like I said, you got to be a welder right? You got to be a welder and a pipe fitter. You got to be a welder and something else. I've been very lucky that I've worked in a bunch of different industries. But unless you're really comfortable with mostly being in a shop under fake lights, eating smoke, being dirty, electrical work will put you in a bunch of different environments, inside, outside, industrial, residential, commercial, up in the air, underground. It's way more satisfying of an environment, way more of a diverse environment that you're going to see in terms of your day-to-day. And the nice thing about electrical work is people are absolutely terrified of it. So you're guaranteed to find work pretty regularly because everybody is just absolutely fucking terrified of electrical work. And look, I get it. I mean, I've been poked with 120 a bunch of times. I've been hit with 240 before. That fucking hurts, dude. You can feel it like crossing your eyes. You're going across your brain. That's a weird sensation. So you're always guaranteed to find work. And there's a little bit of a air that comes to doing electrical work. You are kind of more or less kind of king of the trades. Let's be honest. Everybody's kind of relying upon you to give them power, right? Your shit don't run. I mean, yeah, your shit will run downhill, but you're not going to be able to pump the water up. Hey! You ain't going to be able to run your furnace without my electrical. Hey! It all revolves around me. So, yes, there's a reason why there's a little bit of arrogance that comes with Sparkies. All right, so back to the draft. Sorry, we got way off on topic there. So here's the 5 edge rushers who could fit the Lions. Michael Williams out of Georgia, 6'5", 240. Williams has the kind of size and frame the Lions like on the edge of their defense. He battled through an ankle injury all of last year, but still put up 5 sacks and 9 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles. He's an upside prospect with terrific traits. Shedeur Stewart, Texas A&M, 6'5", 267 point. Oh, sorry, I thought it was 267.459. 267, ran a 4.59 40 and a 1.58 in the 10 yards with a 10-yard split. Excuse me. I got to hit this coffee real quick, fellas. All right. Stewart was impressive at the combine with his 40-inch vertical, 10'11" broad jump. His explosiveness, no doubt, he's explosive, no doubt about it. Sure, the 4.5 sacks worth of production the last 3 years is a little puzzling, but he logged 106 true pass sets last season, ranking 74th in the draft class per PFF, which could explain some of his lack of sack production. He led the Aggies with 39 quarterback pressures. Lots of upside with Shedeur Stewart. The one thing you want to look at with defensive ends, the 40 doesn't really. I'm trying to remember. There was a guy who analyzed what combine drills relate to specific positions and how you can translate combine drills to production in the NFL. Let's be honest, guys. As much as I like the combine, I've been watching it for years, ever since NFL Network became a thing. The combine tells you absolutely jack shit about players. The 40, you know what the 40 is good for? The 40-yard dash is good for figuring out if you're going to be able to produce on special teams, right? With the offensive and defensive linemen, I think what you're looking for is the 3-cone drill, I believe, and their broad and vertical jump, because you want to see how much explosiveness they have in their bottom half, right? Obviously, the upper strength is a major component, but you want the explosiveness getting off the line. So you're really looking at that broad jump, that vertical. Shedeur Stewart had a pretty good vertical. And a 10'1", a 40-inch vertical. That's actually really good. And a 10'11" broad jump, almost 11 feet. That is some low-end torque on the boy. Number 3, my guy, Mike Green, defensive end out of Marshall, 6'3", 251 pounds. He did not run a 40-yard dash, weighing in a little bit lighter than the other guys. Yep, a little bit lighter than the other guys. Not much, but a little bit, just enough to make it kind of count. He kind of slots out as more of an outside linebacker. Green started his career at Virginia and transferred to Marshall this past season, where he led the FBS with 17 sacks and ranked second with 22.5 TFLs. He dominated the Senior Bowl against an uptick in competition. He combines speed and power with effort that should lead to a lot of production in the NFL. Some off-field character concerns will have to be properly vetted. And if there's one organization that's good at vetting these guys, it is the Wizard, Brad Holmes. Number 4, the most intriguing defensive end prospect in the draft, because I've seen him go as early as the top 10 and as late as 28 to the Lions, and that is Tennessee's product, James Pierce Jr., 6'5", 245 pounds, even lighter than Mike Green, 4'7", or a 4.47 40 and a 1.56 10-yard split. Speed, and more speed. When you watch Pierce, the speed, takeoff, and first step really jump out. He recorded 17.5 sacks, 27.5 TFLs as a first team all SEC performer the last 2 seasons combined. He needed to add some strength to his frame to hold up better against the run, but as just a pure pass rush ability, he can help a team right away. And that right there is why you're seeing him slide all over the draft board. That is because of his lack of strength and size. Obviously, speed kills. Just win, baby. Speed. But when you can't bend the edge, yeah, you can run, but them offensive tackles are just going to push you right out of the way. And let's be honest, them offensive tackles in the NFL are a hell of a lot faster than most of the offensive tackles in the SEC, even though the SEC is probably the best and most NFL-ready conference in collegiate football. I would like to see a little bit more beef to him, but if James Pierce Jr. slides all the way to 28, I'm pulling the trigger on him with the Detroit Lions, even if Mike Green is there. But neither one of those two guys, you've heard me talk about the book end, the big end, the heavy end that the Lions like to have. That's what Marcus Davenport accomplishes, what Josh Paschal accomplishes, that book end. So Aiden Hutchinson can collapse the pocket in around you. And when you have a James Pierce Jr. or a Mike Green a little bit faster, a little bit less strength, then you got two guys collapsing the pocket, which unfortunately will open up lanes for quarterbacks to step up into the pocket. And without Aleem McNeil there and ready to go early on, you're relying on Alonzarique, Paschal, Roy Lopez, or DJ Reader to help clean up all of the middle there. And DJ Reader, Roy Lopez are both more of run defenders, not really going to be able to get after the more mobile quarterbacks. Josh Paschal could theoretically get lost in the wash because he's not as big as the other guys. So you're really needing that heavy bookend to collapse the pocket down around. Now, you could be looking at getting another guy, a speed guy, Mike Green, or James Pierce Jr., to play in relief of Aiden Hutchinson, right? Because maybe we need to realize that Hutch will have better longevity if he isn't on the field 100% of the time, right? That could be an angle to pursue. But do you want to spend a first-round pick on a pass rush specialist with little run defense upside? And the number 5 guy, Donovan Ezekiel, I always struggle with this guy. Big E out of Boston College, 6'2.5", 248. Did not run a 40-yard dash. Shorter, and a little bit lighter than the top two guys that we looked at already. The Ted Hendricks Award winner as the nation's top defensive end, Big E was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year after recording 16.5 sacks, 20.5 TFLs, and leading the team with 3 forced fumbles. He's got some versatility to his game and could play both Sam linebacker and defensive end in the Detroit scheme. So he's a little bit of a tweener guy, a little bit of a tweener. And these are all guys that we have talked about. You know, I'm actually getting a little bit more high on Shedeur Stewart. Michael Williams, I just don't think will be there. Mike Green could be there, and James Pierce Jr. sliding all over. Donovan Big E has been another one of those James Pierce Jr. guys that just slides all up and down the board, all over the board. And there's not really, when you're picking so late in the draft and the fluidity of the NFL draft, it's hard to project where these guys are going to be. I do think, obviously, Abdul Carter will go in the top 3. Should be the first guy off the board, in my opinion. And then what you'll end up seeing is it comes down to Michael Williams or James Pierce Jr. And what I think is going to happen is picks 3 through 10, if Abdul Carter's there, picks 4 through 10 aren't going to be necessarily defensive end spots. But what you will see is that after Abdul Carter, a few picks go by, once you see a Michael Williams or a James Pierce Jr. go, I think you'll see a run on defensive ends because teams are going to get a little trigger happy and they're going to get a little impatient and they're going to want to go after who they pegged as their guy. But, it depends on how aggressive you're going to want to get with it. If that happens and you see the need to move up 10, 12 spots, do the Lions have enough capital to go after their guy, or do we sit, wait, and trade out? Wait, see who falls to the second round, and get a few more extra picks. Myself, I'm of that camp right now. So that's a nice little article from Tim 20man over at DetroitLions.com. One guy that did not pop up, and this is going to be the last segment before we end the day, and that is the Michigan prospect, Josaiah Stewart. And I wanted to talk about Josaiah Stewart for a little bit here. We got Bleacher Report's, the scouting report from Bleacher on Josaiah Stewart, and we see him continuously popping on interviews for the Detroit Lions, and he fits the mold, right? We've had ample time to scout him. He's in our own backyard. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson has familiarity with the guy and can share a little bit of character traits on him, and he was relatively productive, even though Michigan had a lesser season than they did the year prior, right? Josaiah Stewart, though, projects out as a day 3 pick. Now, is that a problem? Absolutely not, because Brad Holmes finds ballers in the back end of the draft. Now, this is from early February, so a lot can change, but this is just a breakdown of his scouting analysis, right? So he is a 6'1", 250-pound defensive end, outside linebacker. It's pretty light and small to be a defensive end. His hands measure out at 9 5/8 inches. He's got 31 7/8 inch arms, good for a 79-inch wingspan. Some wide arms. Some positives. Impressive production as a pass rusher with 30 career sacks in the Big Ten. good get off and burst off the line of scrimmage, can win with speed around the edge. So what we read about James Pierce Jr. and the speed. Going to make you slide. Sets up his pass rush moves well by stemming and using Euro steps. Also has the quickness to change the angle on defensive tackles, going from inside to outside leverage in a hurry, or vice versa. Has a solid rip move to win around the edge and a decent inside cross chop. Physical and has natural leverage at the point of attack to set the edge and get off blocks from tight ends. Yes, he does have natural leverage. Being 6'1", you have a lot of natural built-in leverage because you're going to be 4-5 inches shorter than defensive or offensive tackles, right? So you're already going to have that built-in leverage. Does he have the strength to utilize it? We know he has the speed, but does he have the strength to utilize? High motor player who can get coverage sacks and factor into gang tackles down the field, and he's comfortable at dropping into coverage. So again, kind of one of them tweener guys, right? And what we like about the high motor player who can get coverage sacks are a great thing. And what we're reading here, this line right here, high motor player who can get coverage sacks and factor into gang tackles downfield, or can factor into gang tackles while Aiden Hutchinson's collapsing the pocket around the quarterback. Exactly. You guys took the words right out of my mouth. Good job, guys. Great effort today. Some negatives. Those are the negatives about him. There's a good few of them to look at, and that is lack of size and length for an NFL edge defender. Offensive lineman who can absorb contact or play with good leverage can widen him in the running game due to his subpar size and lower body strength. Short arms limit his extension and ability to disengage from offensive tackles. That's right, because you want to get your man off of you. Lacks the mass and strength to effectively turn speed to power as a pass rusher. Below average accuracy with his hands and chops when working pass rush moves will often miss and allow offensive linemen to get into his body, and that's what you don't want. You don't want the offensive lineman engaged with you. You don't want sticky offensive linemen. You need long arms and explosiveness to punch your guy off of you, right? Questionable bend. Ankles look stiff to turn tight corners at the top of the rush. Struggles to break down in backfield as pass rusher. Comes in too hot and will lose contain against athletic quarterbacks. It's not the best negatives. Those are pretty glaring negatives. Again, it's mostly his size that we are scrutinizing here. There's nothing you can do about that. But when you are slightly undersized and clearly lacking strength based on your lower and upper body, and you have short arms, you've got to be a real cerebral player. You got to hit that gym, though, and you got to add some mass and some strength, but you also have to, you got to know what the offense is going to do before the offense is going to do it. You got to be smarter than everybody else. And unfortunately, struggles to break down in the backfield as a pass rusher and comes in too hot, gets a little too excited, a little too giddy, starts seeing, gets that buck fever, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Starts gets a little twitchy in it, you know? He is born April 26, 2023. Oh, wow. So he could get drafted on his birthday. What a hell of a birthday present that would be, right? That would be a Saturday selection. So, yeah, rounds 4. That could be total perfect. 3-star recruit in the 2021 class. On injuries, he had undisclosed and missed 1 game in 24. Transferred from Coast Carolina ahead of the 23 season. Oh, so he doesn't have any time with Aiden Hutchinson. Gotcha. He's a transfer. I take all that back. My bad. 2024 second team All Big Ten, 2023 honorable mention All Big Ten, 2022 second team All Sun Belt, 2021 first team All Sun Belt freshman All American set school record with 12.5 sacks. Overall, Josaiah Stewart has been a productive pass rusher throughout his college career. As a true freshman at Coastal Carolina, he burst into the scene with 12.5 sacks. Since then, he transferred to Michigan and proven to be a solid situational pass rusher prospect. Stewart has an impressive get off to win with speed around the edge and takes advantage of offensive tackles with slow feet. He also set up his pass rush moves well by stemming into the inside and using his quickness and or Euro step to win on the inside or outside with a rip cross chop moves. However, Stewart isn't a technician with his hands, often missing and failing to, quote, defeat hands and defeat the man, especially when against offensive linemen with good length that can allow offensive tackles to get into his body and stop his moves. Also, he doesn't have poor bend when he does lack some ankle flexation to turn tight corners at the top of the rush. That's crazy. There are literally guys who look at your ankles to see if you're able to talk about like really just niching down on your specialty. Like, what do? I'm an NFL scout of what? Ankles. I look at dudes' ankles. I look at them ankles. You know who had bad ankles? You know who had really bad ankles and could have definitely gained from having ankle expert scouts? Hank Hill. Hank Hill and his hankles, because Hank Hill broke his hankles in the Texas State Championship game. As a run defender, the Michigan product's lack of size and lower body strength are issues. He's physically strong with enough to be effective against tight ends, but has a hard time setting the edge versus offensive tackles and pullers. That means he's going to get swamped by a big guard coming around. That could make him more of a third down pass rusher at the next level. So very similar to what we've seen with Zadarius Smith. Over in the chat, Mr. Detroit City, let me see them ankles, girl. Hell yeah, let me see them ankles. Oh, yeah. Oh, she's showing a little ankle. Oh, yeah. Overall, Stewart's combination of subpar size and technical flaws as a pass rusher could lead to varying options about his ceiling in NFL clubs. But his production is hard to argue with that. He has enough traits to potentially become a sub-package rusher as a stand-up outside linebacker. Yeah, you can blitz him off the edge, and this is where they got him. They got him a grade of 6.6 out of 10. Potential role player, 4th round. He's 152 on the rank. Position rank is at the edge, number 18th in the class. And then pro comparison, shades of Nick Bonito, but shorter. Nick Bonito had a hell of a season with the Denver Broncos. He's kind of their pass rush guy, and the Broncos have a hell of a defense. So that's not a bad comp, right? If you're going to be able to steal him at the back, that third round pick is looking so good for a guy like Josaiah Stewart, especially if you can't get, Jordan Birch or Princely Umanali or whatever his name is, the kid out of Ole Miss. Josaiah Stewart looked at 32 spot in the third round. I mean, you didn't have that pick to begin with anyway, so it's more or less a luxury, right? And I like what I see out of Josaiah Stewart as a project prospect, a guy who can play in situational. And if he's a 4th round pick, third, 4th round pick, it's hard to argue with that. So I actually I like it. I'd like to see him come into the organization. Obviously, you can't do anything about the 6'1", but if you could get that 249 up to a 255, 260 at 6'1", that's going to give him a lot more mass on top of the natural built-in leverage. And if that 10 pounds is coming on of basically just pure muscle, that's going to build out his strength. You're going to have to use your speed. And more or less, you're looking at a guy who's probably going to be blitzing more with his hand out of the dirt, a third down guy, rotationary player, not a guy you want to build your defense around. Got a work meeting. Have a great rest of the show. Hey, I'm Chasing Chase. Good luck in your work meeting, bro. It's about the end of the show. I appreciate you hanging out as long as you did, my guy. We will see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., right here at youtube.com/The Hat and Beard Show. Appreciate you hanging out, brother. Seriously. But that really is going to be about it for the show. Josaiah Stewart, kind of liked what we've seen there. So let's just quick recap. We looked at what the Cleveland Browns should potentially do with the number 2 overall pick. I don't think they should draft from a position of need at the quarterback, and they should hope and pray that Abdul Carter falls to them. The Tennessee Titans make a colossal mistake and draft from a position of need. That front office seems to be inept and will make the wrong decision. So the Browns should be, hopefully, for Browns fans wanting that Abdul Carter falls to them and they make the right decision. Then we looked at 5 prospects. According to Tim 20Man, the Lions should consider drafting all first-round guys. And these are all dudes that we've talked about. Michael Williams, Shamar Stewart, Mike Green, James Pierce Jr., and Big E out of Boston College. And then just to top it all off with our own prospect spotlight, we looked at the defensive end out of Michigan, all 6'1", 250 pounds of him, and that is Josaiah Stewart, a nice potential addition to the Detroit Lions as a rotationary situational player and someone who the Lions could look to double on the way Brad Holmes likes to do. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the show? Did you think it was a good show? I thought it was a pretty good show. We hit just about, it looks like we just knocked an hour, so The sun is shining here. That's a good omen. Unfortunately, it's not very warm. 29 degrees and sunshiny. I absolutely hate everything about the weather. So, boys, thanks again for hanging out. I appreciate every single one of you stopping by. Cody Till, Mr. Detroit City. Let's see. Great show as always. Thank you, Mr. Detroit City. I'm Chasing Chase. You guys all holding it down. Look at that chat. Chat was popping. Just going back through and looking at it. You guys make it. You guys make it. I'm just here hosting it. You guys make the show. I appreciate it, all you guys hanging out. So that's going to be it for me. Try and have a good rest of your day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. And as you guys know, we like to end the week. Wednesday will be a probably one or two shorter segments. And then, time for a mock draft. Hey-oh. You guys know I like to end the week on a mock draft. So have a good rest of your day. Stay out of trouble. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an attentive audience. Until tomorrow. Bonga bonga. Frig off.